San Antonio! Welcome to All Things San Antonio podcast with your hosts and favorite realtor, Brad Burns and
Ken Carter, and we're here with the special guest, Jason Yerrington from Ohana Academy. Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So tell us about yourself, Jason. Ohana Academy, it's a Jiu-Jitsu academy here in San Antonio that my daughter's been participating in. But tell us what brought you to San Antonio. You're native born. Tell us your background, your story a little bit.
Born and raised in San Antonio. Went to high school at Smith Valley.
Okay. Back then, that wasn't San Antonio, though.
I guess, but we still kind of moved out there when we were still paying. We weren't paying San Antonio city taxes, but we were still considered part of the San Antonio city limit.
Okay.
So that was kind of my parents, for realtors.
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, this is a really cool little play." Until Comal started being so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Man, they're crazy how big it is.
It's crazy.
What year did you graduate?
2002.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when we moved out there was no street lights coming down 281 past a certain point, and it was really nice. Now it's crazy. Now you got to wake up an hour and a half earlier just to get to work. It's
a little easier now though, because the highway's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, after they did that little the highway stuff, it was really cool. But it was also a little grieving because when the autopilot on a Tesla and that thing, it was great because you get 100 emails done before you get to work, and 45 minutes just sit there and just play on your phone. But anyway, so I born and raised in San Antonio. Went to high school at Smith Valley because I wanted to play football.
Okay.
And
was Coach Hill there then?
Coach Hill was, yeah. Coach Hill, Tutan, all those guys.
Actually, I might have let's see, 90 in 2000. No, so in 2001, 2000. I was a high school football official for about a year or so. And
no way.
I wasn't on the field. I was doing the change though. But I had a couple of games out at Smith Valley, so I might have seen you out there.
That's crazy cool. Well, no, not really, because after my freshman,
he goes, I wanted to play.
Well, I was basketball first, just no one knew that. But I also love football, and I was like, dude, let's go out there. But basketball was really taking off, and I wanted to play college ball, and so. In the summer after my freshman year, they were like, hey, we need you to put on another 35 pounds. We need you to do this. And I was like, but that's not going to help me play basketball.
Yeah.
They were like, son, no one cares about basketball here. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I do. And so that was it. I became a one-sport person and, to put my all efforts into that. Ended up getting a scholarship to a JUCO at Angelina College in Lufkin, Texas.
Oh, cool.
Came back here, had a couple offers, but wanted to come back home. Ended up finishing up at Incarnate Word with Coach Grushkin, his last couple years there before Bernmeyer came in. And, finished up my career and, ended up graduating, transferred over to UTSA to finish up for biology, and was on my way to med school and doing all that. And next it was like this whole jiu-jitsu thing. A friend of mine was like, hey, let's go check out some tattoos. I was like, okay, cool. Didn't have anything else to do. Was done, and I watched Stephen Bonner and Forrest Griffin just duke it out and beat the absolute crap out of each other. I was like, that's awesome. That's the next thing that I got to do. Because, after playing basketball for so many years, and you kind of have this grieving process of you're no longer connected to a community.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of moving on with the team, but you're like the old guy, and the coach is like, hey, do you want to stay on as a coaching assistant? You're like, no, I don't want to do that, So it ended up doing that, and went to a gym. Literally 3 weeks later, I was the main event in Waco, Texas, which is not supposed to happen. I walked into that gym and got my butt kicked by a bunch of 135-pound nobodies and thought, whoa, this is not at all what I thought it was. And then literally 2 days later, I get a phone call from some guy, I don't remember his name is, and he was like, hey, I saw your picture up on the website. You look like a tough dude. You want to fight Kel Grady in 2.5 weeks? And I was like, what? Who's killed? Yeah, I'll fight him. Yeah. And knowing that I didn't, and I knew right then, but it was just this emotion of pride that welled up inside of me. And I go back in the gym and I was like, hey, so I got a call last night. I guess I'm fighting the main event in Waco, Texas. And they were like, what? I was like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure y'all put my name. But the guy that I signed up with, I think I kind of offended him. And I think he ended up licensing me as a fighter at the same time they was doing my membership application because I had to take a photo and they uploaded me to some kind of website that had like a database of fighters. And so this promoter is scrambling to figure out how he's going to keep his promotion. Next you know, boom, Jason picks up the phone. And so I went to Waco, Texas 2.5 weeks later without a mouthpiece, without a cup. And driving to the venue, they were like, hey, you got it? I was like, no, I don't have that. Do you need that? They were like, yeah, you need that, bro. I was like, all right, well, let's go to Walmart.
He didn't even go to Academy.
We were in Waco. I didn't even know if they had an Academy. So we go. One of my friends was like, here, just borrow my steel cup. It was like, it wasn't even like a cup. It was like an old, I don't know if y'all have ever done Thai. Old school, like, man, anyway.
No, that's just, we have not done Thai.
Like, you're like,
yeah. Stuff. I've eaten, but I know what a metal cup is.
So, man, went in there and got knocked out so bad. So horribly bad. It was, I have no recollection of it whatsoever, but I did see it on YouTube. Or actually it was on MySpace.
Oh, wow.
The 8-year-old brother of the dude that knocked me out made a highlight video. He was like, my brother kicked your ass. And I was like, oh yeah, he did. And I pressed play, and sure enough, it was just over and over and over. 3.5 minutes of me hitting the canvas over. So, you know, I watched that video quite a bit, and I was like, that can't be my story. So, you know, doing the whole biology thing, and ended up dropping out of almost every class that I enrolled in to just train morning, lunch, and night over and over and over again until I could rewrite the story a little bit. Now, 2-time world champion in jiu-jitsu, and, you know, got 4 schools, and we're doing our thing. So
that's crazy. How was the transition into like opening schools, like going from like, okay, I'm training and doing these things, or like, and I'm going to open a school, become an entrepreneur, and put this out there, because I know that you've done that. You started it in what, like, how long ago?
Oh man, it was so long. So tail end of 08,
okay,
early 09 is when we actually opened the doors, and I didn't even know what the term entrepreneur was. If you had asked me back then, I would have thought it was some kind of like science degree, but.
It seems like it sometimes. It's a science degree because it's there's no straight path forward. You got to figure it out and test and keep going forward with it.
And that's really all I did was fail. I mean, to be honest with you, when we started it, there was a lot of drama, a lot of political stuff that, like, I don't actually want to get into, but I didn't really do that. I was going to medical school, but then things were kind of getting crazy. My wife and I were expecting a baby. Do I really want to go to medical school? What am I going to do? I'm really passionate about this JIT stuff. I just got kicked out of my old school. The guy doesn't like me anymore, but everyone's still calling me to want to train. How do I handle this? What do I do? So I was working as a physical rehab tech at a rehabilitation center, and I was just asked the guy, I was like, hey, can we just, at closing, you know, when you guys shut down at 7, can I just move all the modalities and all the weights? I'll move them all back, but can I put some puzzle mats out here? And he was like, sure. So that's what I did. And it was a lot of work every single day, and I didn't know how to charge anyone. So people just started showing up, no marketing, no website, no anything like that. And every third Thursday, we would just send a bucket around, and I'd be like, hey, whatever you think it's worth, it's cool, you know.
So you started you started a business with $0.
$0. I think it cost it was $300 for every 100 square feet of mats, and we got 3 of them. That was the total investment. At that time, we would have like 3 or 4 dudes that would show up, and sometimes it would get so bloody and nasty because we were not very professional at that point in time. And I mean, the space wasn't much bigger than this room. It was a little bit, but that we actually had mat space. But then on the edge of all that mat was just like physical rehab equipment, tables, and stuff that you shouldn't be hitting your head on.
Yeah.
And then it was heavy, and so every single day, me and 2 other dudes, we would spend like 2 hours pushing all that stuff back. And we'd rinse and repeat, and we'd do that over and over and over again. And then eventually someone was like, hey, you really need to start getting a little more professional with the way you charge people. And I was like, you think so? And so at the center that we were at, there was a place called Body Focus, which a guy named Steve Jensen had, who was a personal trainer. And he was, I kept on looking at that space, being like, that space is amazing. I'm going to get that space one day. And my wife would be like, you're crazy. I was like, no, I'm going to do that one day. She's like, just Just be good at your job. You're gonna be great. I was like, no. We're gonna do that. You mean like stupid stuff that you guys move all this stuff out the side and you always have black eyes on? Yeah, one day it's gonna be awesome. And so she would listen to me. She wasn't like, it's not like she was a dream killer, but she also was like, okay.
All right, put a lot of reality into the conversation.
Right. What are we eating tonight? How are we paying the mortgage? That kind of stuff, right? So eventually, he ends up selling his business to the YMCA over there on Tri-Point. So they bought his business out, and he came over and became the head of personal training. And for like a year and a half, that space was vacant. So I just went to the landlord one day, and I was like, hey, look, I don't have a business plan. In fact, I don't have a whole lot of people, but that space is vacant, and I'll pay you 30% of whatever I bring in. I'll be transparent, whatever I do. I'll do whatever construction you want me on it. I'm not good at construction, but I'll figure it out. So he said yes. His name was Clay Epstein. He was a really nice man. His father had just died, so he was kind of segueing out of the real estate business. And they had a cabinetry business down in Laredo that was very, very successful. So he was going there. So at this point, it was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So I kind of got in at the right time. And at that point, I started YouTubing how do you make your own mats. So like for $3,000, we went and got like these little foam and built our own mat space. It was about 2,200 square feet. Now all of a sudden we have this legit space and things are kind of getting a little more serious, and it was crazy. But still, I didn't know how to make money. I wasn't making any money at all, but I didn't need to because no one was really asking for anything.
Yeah.
So I got connected with this thing called a mastermind, which you guys have probably heard of something like that, but other experts in that field, they'll all meet together. You kind of sit in like a little circle, and everyone takes a turn in the middle, and they kind of say things like, their stats, like their inquires, their leads, their close ratios, their show ratios, all this stuff. I had no idea what any of that stuff was. Yeah. So I was listening to all these guys, and I sat in there, and I was so insecure, so like, what? So I was just like, all I know is we're really good at kicking ass. And if we do that, people will come see us. And so then one by one, these guys just started kind of questioning me and drilling me and going into me. And so I left with a couple of their numbers. So then one lady's name was Penny Patassi and Ed Clay and a couple other guys. So I started meeting with Ed Clay, Penny Patassi on a weekly basis. And we're like, how do you do this? And so they were like, well, hey, you got to get on the website. You got to get a lead generator. You got to work on your sales funnel. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I just started soaking it up like a sponge because in the beginning, I don't know if this is the same for other industries, but for us, it was like, that works for y'all, but, you don't know my people, like, if I try to make that change, everyone's going to leave me. So then there was like another 3-year transformation of like becoming a professional in this industry as opposed to just someone who beats people up for a living. And that process was crazy. We lost a lot of friends and some other people, but gained a lot of customers and some new friends. And eventually things really started to take off to where we had a very successful Alamo location, which was the original one we had with Clay. Then
that's the one that's over there right off 281?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
that's the new one. That's Brook Hollow. So that's what we did in COVID.
No, I'm talking about when we were going and when Thea was doing it in
Chuli. Off of Chuli.
Yeah, where the Target used to be and all that.
Yes, yeah. It was right behind a Walmart.
Yeah.
Cooties is at the end of the thing.
Yeah.
So that space right there, that was the old Body Focus location that we took over. That was awesome. AC half the time didn't work. We had these little 1-ton AC units that were hooked up to the wall and everything, and it was a great time.
Yeah.
We're definitely past that now, but yeah.
But those are you still kind of look back though, right, at those times, and that was like when it was really fun.
Oh, I miss it.
It was good old days, right? Yeah.
It really was. But you had a whole lot less expectations, and everything was more of a surprise, and it was just such a reward. And so many, with the growth of our organization, there's just so many people that depend on it now that comparatively, it was so much more free and fun and a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I can say from our experience, we thought about it, even thought of just started because I was into UFC and watching UFC because that was UFC's rapid growth time frame when like the Cowboy Cerrone and all, like it was just such a fun time for UFC. I think then was more fun than it is now. Now it's more corporate and stuff like that. But that's when Thea started, and she did it and had a good friend. You probably remember David Kim too, also, and his girls did it at the same time, and they did a little bit longer. And jiu-jitsu is that thing where everybody should do it. Everybody definitely should have some experience with it. And like with Thea, it was always about like I knew that eventually she was going to have some situation where she may not be comfortable with somebody and like would need to shrimp out and like make sure just to get away from somebody. But it also, in addition to that, like it gave her confidence because I can remember there was a day when she was like Alamo Heights is 6th, 7th, and 8th for junior school. Mm-hmm. Granted, she's tall and she doesn't look like the typical 6th grader back then. She's always been tall, but they used to have a line where like all the kids are playing basketball during recess or whatever, lunch and stuff like that. And the 8th graders would just always kind of cut in front of all the 6th graders and things. And she would be like, tap them on the shoulders like, hey, bud. Back in the line, bud. And she just had she didn't care. She knew that like that's gonna happen. It's like, okay, I've been in this situation. It's not about like it's about being in that situation before and not having to worry about a fight or flight. Like you know how to respond. And that's what I think is important about it. Man,
you're hitting the nail on the head. It's from young people, old people, female, male, tall, big, small. I agree exactly what you're saying because what you find out is it doesn't kill you, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden that empowerment goes a little bit farther. And then all of a sudden, like you have the confidence to have a voice, to self-advocate in the smallest way. Hey, no, you can't cut here. Yeah. Whereas when you don't do that and violence is a mystery to you, which it's not crazy. Yeah. But we've kind of put it up on this pedestal and everyone through self-preservation doesn't invest in it and then they get no epiphanies. But literally like 6 months in it will change your life on how much you'll just, nicely say, hey, no, not today, or not let someone abuse you or take advantage of you or something else like that. So that's really cool to hear, man. Yeah. I'm glad Thea's doing well.
It is, and David, he asked me one time after she quit because she transitioned to volleyball and like really started playing volleyball and just didn't have time for everything. And he goes, "Do you wish she would have done more?" And I was like, "Hey, I just wanted her to have that confidence. Yeah. She got that, and she got in, got that, and got out, and like that'll never go away. Like it was when she was in 5th and 6th, maybe 7th grade, when she was younger. But if she's 30 years old." Something happens and she's going to have some sort of remembrance of what to do and have that because it only takes them a half a second to not like freak out and be able to react in the proper timing.
It's conceptual, right? Yeah. So like when you're in it all the time, you kind of like have the opportunity to analytically like, take down a technique and really look at the guts of it. But at the end of the day, the embracing of the violent scenarios and taking your body to that fight or flight and then knowing that you're okay, it's kind of like getting in an ice bath. When's the last time y'all got in an ice bath?
I've been in some really cold swimming pools.
I really like to do the sauna, the hot stuff.
Well, in the cold, there's something that's developed called your adaptive unconscious. Yeah. And that doesn't go away. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so once you know that you're able to survive 3 minutes, it could be just as much of a struggle like the next time, but you always know, just breathe, I'll be okay.
I've done this before.
And that concept never leaves you. So with violence, it's very similar. It's also developing your adaptive unconscious. Your unconscious mind, you're not really aware of it, but since something happens, boom, it snaps in and you start breathing, you start changing, but you're not allowing, like a person who hasn't done it, to where all of a sudden the small twitch motor, whatever I'm trying to say, like, my intricate movements go away immediately. But people that don't or that have done it, it doesn't go away all the way. It stays conceptual and forever stays with them. So that's cool.
And it's on the opposite side of it. I know that y'all have worked a lot with like bullies and like bullying in general and stuff. I think that people don't realize that those kids that usually are typically bullies previously, and then when they start training, they don't stay bullies, right?
They simmer down.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll see the bully on the mat come in, and after they've trained for a little bit, just a little bit of realization of what they're doing to someone else because someone else is doing it to them, and then the more they become trained, the less they become afraid. And a lot of those guys are coming because they're insecure about something somewhere, or girls too. And that's a real deal that's happening so much in so many schools that still, no matter how much we try to talk about it, it hasn't really changed. My daughter got bullied really bad in like 6th grade. It was crazy. And jiu-jitsu saved her there. But even after that, even after she like mounted the girl, holding her down, and everyone's Snapchatting, they still kept on trying to bully her afterwards. You know,
we're hopeful to get some other people on the podcast in the future that with the David's legacy and their foundation and stuff like that, because the bullying's a real problem. That's one of the things that I thought was great, like having you come on and everything, because I know that it's something where, like, if you have a child that is experiencing bullying, or you have a child that you think is a potential bully, like these types of activities and getting into jiu-jitsu and getting in things where they're really testing yourself, because once you start testing yourself, for one, they just need to get some of that energy out.
right?
Like having that struggle helps with it, but the realizing again, it's that you start learning respect. I think one of the things that Joe Rogan talks about, and some Elvis comedians and stuff like that, they go, every single UFC fighter they've ever met has been a nice guy.
Yeah.
They're always just nice guys, and you see all the time where like there's an incident in the real world, and they don't realize that. Oh, and they're always the hero of the situation. They're never the asshole of the situation. They're the guys calming it down, and they don't hurt them. They always just like pin them on the ground. It's like, okay,
De-escalation.
de-escalate, and it's like and that's what's crazy about, because it's a violent, but it's not a martial art where it has to be violent.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's because you can just subdue and like passively subdue them to the point where they just go night-night for a little bit.
Is that the only martial art you guys do?
No. Pretty much so a long time ago, I wanted to have something to base this on that was ever changing. So I always look to the cage. Whatever is necessary to be successful in the cage, well, we need to teach that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, what other like combative sporting element is as close to real life combat as it's out there, right? I mean, in boxing, you have an element to where, okay, you box for like 17 years and your hands are great, but what happens when someone takes you down? You know, like I've had guys that are great boxers that come to us and they're like, I really want to get into MMA, and you kick them once with a calf kick and like, and they're done, right? And that's not supposed to happen for a guy that's that great at striking. Does that make sense?
No, for sure.
Because now all of a sudden they're just like a baby, and it's really easy to play with them. So, we look at the cage. Well, you have to be good at wrestling. So we teach wrestling. We have high school wrestling, and then we also too have wrestling for kids. Our wrestling season getting ready to start here in November. Coach Reyes does an outstanding job with them. And then we also have it for the adults and also for the fighters. Then you have jiu-jitsu, obviously, and then we have our Muay Thai, our boxing, our judo. So we try to incorporate every single thing that's going to have to happen in the cage for someone to be successful.
And that's when in fighting, like you really like, you don't know what's going to happen, and like every situation is different. So the more trained and the more tools you have in that tool belt is gonna serve you well. So you started out like you've got a great kids program and everything, but you talk about your fighters and everything. Like, what levels? Like, how many levels are we going here at Ohana?
Man, I'm going to be in Madison Square Garden November 16th with Jonathan Martinez. He's fighting Marcus McGee.
That's a UFC fight.
Yes, sir. That's UFC 309. Alex is fighting Austin Hubbard. I'm not going to be with him on that one, but we meet regularly on that. We've got Loham Estevez fighting in November as well in Houston. I've got Reese. I can't remember his last name right now. We're going to go up to Houston this weekend for him. So we have pros at all levels, right? The highest, Reese is going to be an amateur debut. But then also we did this really cool thing because not everyone's a pro, okay? And I've got this really cool facility that we didn't always have cool facilities, all right? But now on Brook Hollow, we have this nice, big, giant 10,000 square foot facility. We're getting ready to open it, surprise, another 10,000 square foot facility, but I'm not allowed to tell you guys just yet. Nice. We're building a 30,000 square foot facility on Blanco in 1604, and that's been a pain in the butt. But it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. But right now in Brook Hollow, we have this cage. It's real nice. We've set it up. We stream everything on YouTube. And what we do is with all of our schools, we just call it Fight Night. It's no cost. Just come in. It's a training session.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, they don't necessarily have, we have a guy that's 52 years old, and he came in and he really wanted to do Muay Thai. That's not a good guy to take to a Muay Thai development league or to put him into a Muay Thai fight. But you know what? When he saw stuff, he's like, I want to do that. And it was like, you're going to tell them now it's probably not a good idea. So what we did is we created this thing for our students to get that experience. One, to build people before they become an amateur. Because as this sport has developed, it's gotten even dangerous now to be an amateur debut. Because you don't know if you're going with a guy that's going to be on that pro track that has to get his first amateur, or you're going with another hobbyist. And so the reality is there's less and less hobbyists that want to go fight in the cage, and more people that are now doing this for a living because of the
there's more money. There's more television. It's like
that's the point. I was gonna say every weekend there's a fight. They're seeing
and then
it
when they can put on their YouTube and become a digital creator at the same time.
Exactly.
There's 1,000 ways to make money at this now.
So we needed to make space for the people that were the non-competitors, right? So every third Thursday, we used to do the Offer Bucket. We do this big old thing, and it's really cool. Lights go down, smoke goes out, strobe lights are everywhere. They got music that they walk out to, and they have a legitimate fight. There's no winner or loser because we're not going to get in trouble with the state of Texas, TDLR. Wow. So it's just a training session, but not to them. Yeah. And we do little promo videos for them on the road to the cage for the whole month. And we set these things up between the 4 different academies that we have. And we don't just do it with MMA. We do it with Muay Thai. We do it with wrestling. We do it with Jits. So we do these little super fights for the kids. We have like these little 3-year-olds that are in there going at it. And they all love it. And it's great, man. We had like almost 300 people at the last fight night. Wow. Just sitting on the mats, watching these things, and we had a couple cameras, a couple different videos, commentators sitting down at the booth. It was really awesome. Oh, giving everyone a real experience, you know.
That's really cool. That's really cool because it is a real experience for them.
Oh, it really is.
I mean, every level of competition, whatever it is in any sport, like as soon as you go into, like I can play darts on my iPhone with my daughter. And there's still going to be some smack talk. And
even more than that, though, you're being observed. Have y'all ever seen that What the Bleep Do We Know? Mm-mm. All right, so it's an old school like experiment that they did, but basically they shoot electrons at these 2 slits, or there's 4 slits, and they perform a certain way when not being observed. And the way they know that is because the wave pattern that comes out on the back. But you put a camera on there, and all of a sudden those electrons start acting very different. Well, what's the difference?
Being observed.
They're being observed. So
we're talking quantum physics now.
Yeah, we're getting. That's what happens on the mat sometimes. That's why so many people. Never mind. We're gonna talk. Anyway, my point here is
they let their minds expand.
Exactly. Leave it at that, right? But my point is like when they go from being comfortable all of a sudden, because that happens, and Thea probably can tell you about it. It's like you're nervous the first couple weeks, but then you get a friend, you kind of get used to the routine, and now it just becomes kind of like a rinse and repeat. Sometimes they get bored of it. Sometimes you got to force them to still do it as a kid, right? But eventually, they need to be challenged. They need to be tested. They need to have a competition. And all of a sudden, those nerves come right back in there, and things that they might do in the gym at like 80% effectiveness, all of a sudden are like at 33.
Yeah.
And so that's why one of the reasons we want to build it into. I mean, competitions now, for an IBJJF competition, it's like $175 for someone to go. They drive all the way out there. They spend money on a hotel. They lose one match and they go home.
That's a lot.
So it's no cost. They have a blast and they get observed. Everyone gets really nervous because we make such a big deal about it. So they're super nervous. And the promo videos help us with it because they're talking trash and it's
great
fun.
Marketing for y'all at the same time.
Exactly.
It's like and that's what with all of these things is you got to have. You get all of it from it, and that's kind of interesting how this world is now. Like, used to you have to like pay for ads and do a radio spot or do this, but now you can just self promote in a more authentic way.
Right.
That's really showing exactly what you're doing and like getting the community involved.
You get to be more in control of the messaging that you're going to be. Whereas, like a radio ad, you only have a certain amount of time, so you kind of got to maximize it, get their attention. Whereas on social media, you go live anytime you want. You put the post, you put the pictures up on Instagram, and you're really in charge of what message that you're putting out there. So,
I like that though. Like my kids are in Taekwondo, and they just recently went from like the first class, the beginner's class, to the next one up.
That's awesome.
And now they're nervous to go like on sparring Fridays because the other little kids that are like their same size, they're a little bit more advanced.
But that's where the one thing that, and we talk about this actually in real estate, and it's I first heard the concept when Thea was training is there's no losing. You either win or you learn something. Yeah. You're failing forward. The more that you do something and you learn from all those mistakes and those failures, and how to do it better and refine it. And
Winston Churchill said that a successful person is someone who can go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And I've really been focusing on that so much because in life, when you're growing a business or whether you're learning a martial art or whatever you're doing, we have this idea of it's going to be from victory to victory. And then when you go out there and you do it and you're really going from failure to failure, it's so easy just to like let it bleed out. And that passion, that dream, it just goes bye-bye. So we've really been focusing on a lot. We do something called Powerful Word at our academy. So
I remember you've been doing that for a long time.
Oh, man. And it's still going.
Word of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So this last month, what are we in? September, was mentality. Yeah. And so we were really, really focusing hardcore on as a man thinketh and a lot of different principles along that. And then we're transitioning into vision because, the way you think is going to shape the world that you see. And so it's been really cool just to see how people have taken that and are now investing more in their failure, whether it's signing up in a new competition, trying to go for a new. I mean, we get feedback from the students all the time about asking a girl out to a dance or going for a job interview or starting a new business, starting a new venture. Just recently, Detective Joe Brown. And he's a great man. He's a black belt of mine. He's been with me for a long time. And he has been trying for 4 years to work with the police department, SAPD, to get a self-defense seminar for the cops who desperately need that. They don't really do. I mean, Colton does a really good job, also one of our students who works with the cadets at the academy. But after they become sworn in, there's no continuing education for that. Mm. So you get a solid maybe 6 months. And then after that, you're just like, imagine Thea, right? And after that's like, okay, you're an officer now, and you're just going to play volleyball. And you're going to have a gun, and you're going to go chase bad guys every day of your life, and eventually probably get into some type of confrontation. Don't you think maybe we should have an ongoing education program?
Especially a non-lethal program in today's world where, like, we don't have to go to a gun. Like, we can have other ways to subdue.
That'd be huge.
Yeah.
So that's what Joe's been working on. So they actually let him. It took 4 years of failure. And this last weekend, we got to go attend his very first seminar that he did for the cops. It was a great show out.
That's cool.
A ton of them came, a lot of cadets, a lot of sworn officers. But it's a pretty cool deal, man.
They need to change that to being mandatory.
Well, that's what we're hoping, right? But, I mean, for us to sit here, it's easy. When you talk with McManus, there's a whole lot of other things like circulating. And that's what it is with politics. I can't stand politics.
Can't stand them.
No.
It's...
Did y'all watch the debate last night?
I didn't know.
No? Oh, it was all...
I can't do it.
It looked like there were two presidents going...
I saw part of it.
I'll wait for the clips.
They were a whole lot more professional than the president. I was like, man, this is the way it's supposed to sound.
I was like, man, these are grown-up politics on this debate.
That's funny.
We'll see what they do. The world is in such a crazy turmoil, like all over the place. There's so many crazy things going on, and like we were talking about before the podcast, you've got Division I volleyball forfeiting games because of politics and safety and things, or because with transgender playing in a women's sport. You got strikes going on over here. We got air strikes going on in the Middle East, and it's just like I'm a little bit older than both y'all. I really thought that just a little bit. I said a little bit, just a decade. I just thought that we wouldn't be here. I thought we'd be closer to Star Trek, where like where we all loved each other and we just got along, and
I definitely thought we'd be a little more mature than we are right now.
It's kind of,
and then we would have a little bit better critical thinking.
Yeah,
I feel like we have so many robots out there right now that they're unable to just look at the data, not be emotional about the data, but let the data decide our thoughts and decisions that we're going to make from there. It's just like people get so hung up on these like religious conversations, and they allow those paradigms to shape as opposed to the data, which I don't think that's smart.
And they all conflict against each other, and it's like, I'm very libertarian. It's like, as long as we don't hurt and we're not affecting you, do what you want. Let me do what I want.
I understand
and it's like, let's just be. But you're talking about critical thinking. hopefully the future. I heard this on another podcast. Chamath Palihapitiya, real smart billionaire from the All In podcast. They were talking about AI and things, and they were talking about this education system. And he's like, AI will eventually be your first level of teaching. Because a lot of it's rote, just like learn this, very easy, interactive, learning math and this and that. And he said, where we're going to get is our teachers, our human teachers, they're going to have to come in and say, okay, ChatGPT said this. Why do you think it said that? That critical thinking. What could I have asked it differently to come up with a different answer, a better answer? And we're going to have to start teaching our kids how to use these tools and be critical thinkers. And in my opinion, for the last 50 years, the schools have just taught us to be robots.
I agree.
They've taught us to like go buy a house, have a picket fence, get 2 kids, pay your taxes, and be done with it. We don't want you to be wealthy. We don't want you to be entrepreneurs. We don't want you to go succeed. We want you to pay taxes and make a middle class income and don't
keep
say
a job.
And don't say a word. And we'll take care of everything else and be
just
the
keep a
nanny
job.
state.
Would you agree that going to school would be one of the best ways to kill an entrepreneur spirit?
100%.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm at the point. I've got 6 kids. 4 of them have graduated college. 2 of them got multiple degrees. One's got multiple degrees. One's gone on their masters. Another one's in college. And I've got one in 7th grade. And I'm like, does she need to go to college? I'm like,
I'm not saying this to my children, but I'm thinking the same thing. I mean, I've told Megan I don't know what we're gonna do in regards to that, because the path that I walked had absolutely nothing to do with school. In fact, the data that I got had more to do with the mentoring,
the masterminding that you did, the people that
was the stuff that changed our business. It changed our lives. Now there's a foundation of math, accounting, and those things to where like
the computer does that though.
That's my point. Right, I was going to say that doesn't necessarily happen in college, right? Like,
Yeah.
But I would say some of I didn't graduate college, but I would say some of the college stuff probably taught you some of the discipline to get through some of those things.
No.
I mean, I think
I spent 3
that's
and a
the
half,
biggest
4
thing
years
you
in
learn in
college.
college is the discipline to get through.
The thing is, if you can go to college and finish it, they say that teaches you the discipline to get through. I would say that you already had the discipline to get through it. Like
You just haven't displayed it.
My brother-in-law, he had 20 different scholarships to play football. This is he graduated in 94. Nebraska, they were winning everything. He could go Texas Tech. They just had all his options. He said he didn't feel like he had the discipline, so he went to West Point and graduated and has had a great career in the military. And it's like, but to me, it's from the day he said that, I was like, but you had the discipline to go there. Well, you did have the discipline. Like, if you had the discipline to make that decision, then you have the discipline to do it, in my opinion.
I think also, too, like, just in reference to that point, I think there's a good point you're making right there. But
it's wrong. I'm just kidding.
Well, no. I did sound like I was going to say that. But, like, the average years that it takes someone to graduate college would actually be in odds with what you're saying, because back in the day, it was an average of, like, 4 years. Now it's, like, an average of, like, 7.5. Or what is it?
Well, the trend is going down.
Well, because people are realizing.
And they're taking it all in high school.
Yes. Yeah.
My son graduated in 3, and my daughter graduated in 3.5.
Okay, well, so then I'm really out of date. But when I was there, man, most people were there for like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah,
and the reality
my time, because again, that was a different generation, and we were taught a different way. We weren't taught to like be an entrepreneur.
No,
we were taught to go learn the class, and until you get out, you know.
So from going from that perspective, it was like, man, what are we doing? We're just doing high school all over again for like 3 years, but we can all party more. We have a little more money, and we have more time. And it was really disastrous for so many of my friends and a lot of people that I know, to where they never even got the discipline that they were necessary. Whereas if they had not been put in that environment, what happens if instead they went and were a metal worker? You know, like, and things started happening.
Or they went to and worked at McDonald's and became a GM and then started a real estate business, you know?
Who did that?
That's a guy.
Man, give a fist bump. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I was there for like 11 years. And
that's awesome, dude.
Our real estate team. It's his team that I'm on for real estate. That we've got 15 people on our team.
That's really cool, man. Hey, great job, dude.
I appreciate it.
That's amazing.
Guy from the hood, from the east side.
But see, that's where
that's
like
the
when
point that we're making.
That's when I look at my kids and I see this, and I see the things that they start fretting about, and I get what you're saying. There's like a timeline. You got to get this done. But man, I don't know. You kind of get the same thing in athletics when you do sports.
Oh yeah, I think athletes get a lot of the experience and a lot of the discipline, things like that, to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's always funny when I see an athlete get out of athletics and fail at whatever. It's like they lose that drive that pushed them to where they were.
I don't think they lost the drive. They lost the accountability.
Yeah. We talk about coaches. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody should have a coach. No matter what walk of life that you're doing, you should have a coach.
Right.
Somebody hold accountable.
So how many locations do you have now?
Currently we have 4.
About to have 5.
Yeah. Well, right now it's 4 because we shut down Alamo. So when COVID happened, it's interesting. Certain geographics like respond differently, and because of the fact that I was still just on a percentage rent at Clay's or at the Alamo location, we had opened a Stone Oak location as well, but my lease was done there as well. So we had an opportunity. The UFC gym was not doing so great. So we bought out their lease and we took over that space and got all the fitness equipment and everything else like that. So we combined Stone Oak and Alamo. But we're looking to...
It was right there in between them.
That's why it was really like 2.5 miles this way, 2.5 miles this way. So, it was really... It's been a good move and it's been really positive.
Where are the other ones at?
The other one, we have one that's real close to Brook City Air Force Base, or formerly Air Force Base. The other one is on the Westwood area. We call it Westwood, but it's off of Calabria and 1604. And the other one is on Fortin and Marbach.
You got the city surrounded.
Yeah,
we're trying to.
You need Converse.
It's coming, because of the way everything's going. Where would you guys put a gym next if y'all were me? Y'all in the real estate.
I would go out, keep going west, because there's so much development going out that direction.
It's crazy. I drove out there when we were looking at the
and
Westwood.
Even like I know the problem is the rent's tough. Like going up I-10, you start getting to high end retail like locations.
Either that or up Shirt Cibolo.
Everything is so expensive now.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, we're paying a lot of money for 5,000 square feet over there it's off of 151 and
that triple net lease is real.
No, it's legit. I mean, it's like $15,000. Like, oh my gosh.
There's a really nice lease space available right next to Perry's Pizza in Cibolo. So it's a movie theater. It's Perry's Pizza.
No, I know what Perry's Pizza. Oh, by Lupe Tortilla.
The PA is PA.
But this one's actually like Cibolo off 35.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's where I think, because I feel like going north on 35 right there would be the right place to go.
Close to any military base too, right? Like even close to Fort Sam.
Fort Sam, yeah. Like, but I don't know, with the way that I think 35 right there is, because you're going to get Universal City, shirts, and then you're also going to get some of the outliers of people on 1604.
I think you want to stay away from... it's going to be interesting how that develops, because they're building a double highway starting at Fort Sam, and it's going to go all the way up 35 past 1604. It's going to be a double-decker highway.
Well, y'all got to come see... Y'all got to... Man, I can't wait for this thing. So y'all know where 1604 and Blanco is, right?
Yeah.
All right. So do you guys know where HB Plus is?
Yep.
And then Hill Country Interior Designs and Lowe's?
Yep.
All right. So we have... we bought the L-shaped plot right behind, or right next to Lowe's and right behind Hill Country.
So just raw
Designs.
land?
Raw land. We're starting from scratch, baby, and it's been fun.
That's an experience.
It's been an experience.
Well, there's...
Because even that, we're building a duplex right now, and we did ground up, and just going through that whole process, and I'm sure you had to replat it and everything, maybe. And
everything from the drainage stuff and
you got to get a tree approval.
No, those birds, those nests. It cost us like almost $12,000 for that dadgum thing, just to make sure that there weren't birds nesting in there so we could tear down the trees. It's crazy. And I'm like, it's by the highway. Why would there be birds? They're like, sure, we're going to do it. I'm like, man, the city is so...
But think about this. That's San Antonio. That's how difficult it is sometimes in San Antonio, and we complain about it. I saw Elon Musk was on the All In podcast, and he was talking about, like, he built his gigafactory out there in Fast Travel. Took him 14 months, which is crazy. Think about what you did. Yeah. He said it would have taken him longer just to get the approval process in California. He would still be in the approval process, and they've already got something built here. So it's the little things that we got to be...
That does give me a little perspective, because the place that I can't tell you about, that's 10,000, man, it took us almost 7.5 months to get building permits. for them. And now that area is blowing up like crazy, which, man, I sat down with the CFO for Brooks. Man, they've done a lot of
City
really
base?
cool- Man,
Yeah,
great. It's great.
I live not too far from there.
that's crazy.
That's a good location, I
yeah.
think, for you.
Mm-hmm. That whole place right there is looking amazing.
Oh yeah, and they got that Green Line Park.
And
it's
40
super
acres
nice.
right there.
Yeah.
They're really talking about trying to bring in some people. They only have like 280 acres left. They had 1,300.
Yeah.
And they've done a great job.
I was just telling Delilah, my wife, I was like, man, it'd be nice to have like an office space
That's
down over here.
Instead of where
I mean,
you're
it's
trying to
just-
cut your drive.
That too, but no, it like we were just over there, and it's just a nice area.
Hey, I'm on down 90. It wouldn't
It's
be
like
bad for me.
it's like Stone Oak of the South Side.
I agree.
It reminds me of that a lot.
Hey, and and the thing is, the more that San Antonio can support that area and go eat the restaurants there. Southerly has a great restaurant down there. There's a lot of great restaurants already started.
La Gloria and a couple other ones.
I love La Gloria so much, man.
Yeah. First time
Johnny
eating there was
Hernandez,
just
we
the
know
other
you're
day.
watching. Come on the podcast.
Yeah, they were talking about Chef Johnny, and that was my first time, man. It was really good. I had this giant, because I'm doing this carnivore thing right now.
Of course.
Which, I don't know, if y'all ever try, it's pretty awesome. I'm totally down.
How long you been doing it?
I tell myself every morning, okay, today I'm going to start the carnivore. Because I'm tired of we were talking earlier about pickleball. My knee is just like, I don't feel comfortable playing pickleball right now, and I feel like it's because of the inflammation and things that I'm eating more so than like.
So I've got a crazy story about health, right? So I've been through some crap. So there was the mass they found in my colon. All of a sudden, I'm getting all kinds of chemo and all kinds of craziness, and I end up getting this PICC line, but I'm a douchebag that keeps training and doesn't stop, and they're trying to clean it, and next thing you know, it gets infected, gets to my heart. I have heart failure, liver failure, kidney, shut down, die on the way to the hospital. Y'all stay in the ICU for a couple weeks, come back, and I just told everyone to go F themselves, right? Like, let me just chill out and do that. Well, so that was like a really bad moment that I've kind of struggled with things from kidney issues, heart issues, just random bouts of inflammation, steroid treatments to keep the inflammation down, so much to where I had like, you know what a TIA is? It's a transient ischemic attack. It's basically like a stroke, but it's like a baby stroke. It's not like a big stroke. It's like, I know you could have a baby stroke, but we're at the UFC. I'm trying to cut weight with this guy. He's not doing so great. It's not doing good. So I'm getting pissed off. So I go in the sauna with him and spent like an hour in the sauna with him. We come out and we're going to eat, and they're all laughing. But man, I'm not really able to hear words that are being spoken. It's just mumbo jumbo. And then they gave me a pen to like write something. I couldn't even write with the pen, and stood up and couldn't move with my left leg. And it passed in about like 5 minutes or so, but it was like a wild ride. So when I came back, my dad, who's a doctor, Dr. Yerrington, great doctor, give him a shout. He's awesome. But he was basically like, hey, man, we got to get you off these steroids, get you off this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So my wife was like, well, let's try carnivore. So I've been all in, and for now 2.5 months, I haven't had any steroids. I used to get these random bouts of inflammation to where I couldn't walk on my left leg. I'd have a cane, all kinds of craziness like that. And no, I haven't had any of those issues at all. So I'm a huge fan. I don't think I'm ever going to stop.
That's the one thing I really we're talking. I could care less about both parties, but if anything can come out of this election, if like RFK Jr. can mess and get in there with the big food companies and like clean up like the shit that we eat, it's like it's so crazy.
I wish he was our president. So bad.
He's got some stuff that are crazy. The thing is, like, there's nobody that I can say like this guy, yeah. This girl, whatever. There's none of them. They all suck. They just all suck.
I like RFK though. I think he's a guy I would love to hang out with. You know.
I don't know. He's a little bit crazy though.
He's very crazy.
but the thing is, like,
and he's got a crazy past too, man.
Well, that's the thing is, like, you always look at, like, you try to put yourself in somebody's shoes. Like, man, if the government killed my uncle and my dad, I'd be crazy too.
I think it would be really cool if he gets in charge of the CIA. Like they're talking about it.
Would that be the pure irony?
I think we deserve that, though. I think for once to blow the lid off of like what actually happened and have full transparency on like, hey, here's what the CIA did. Da 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 da.
Yeah,
I think it would be awesome. And also with the food stuff, have you guys ever heard of the app Yuka?
YUCA?
YUCA, yes.
Okay.
Get it. immediately. Like, it's awesome. It's just an app, and literally, like, you scan any food item. So, like, we'll do it right now. Let's see.
It says it doesn't have anything but water.
It's from Austin, so you never know.
We're gonna find
But
out.
the natural flavor, like all these things have natural flavors. Do you know that some natural flavors come from a beaver's butt?
Yeah, I believe it, dude.
Like
There's
there's a
beaver's
gland
butt.
in a beaver's butt
So
that
you just scan.
produces like a fluid, and they use that for the natural flavor.
So yeah, this is excellent. So it'll tell you everything that's in it. There's no ads. It tells you the calories, and so it gives you a score right there, and you can like read the score. Dude, there's so many things in our kitchen that I would be like, oh, this is great. This is crackers and cheese, and it'll be like a 2 out of 100 score, and I'll be like, what? And it'll tell me all this processed chemicals that's in it. And I'm like, oh my god.
You got arsenic in it. And
Yeah.
Who knows what else?
So, I think it's called Siete chips. There's a brand of chips that's grain-free, gluten-free, and it's cooked with avocado oil, no seed oils and stuff like that. They just got bought by Pepsi for $1.2 billion. And
So they're probably going to go downhill.
Well, that's gone to shit.
Yeah.
Never buying that product again.
Someone's retiring.
It's like,
good for him.
you
Screw
gotta
us,
get,
but
Let's get some preservatives in that bad boy.
How quick does the trust go away? Like, right? It's like as soon as that happens, it's like, oh well, shit. Well, I have to go to a different brand now. It's like that's not going to work.
Sodas in general are just terrible.
They are. I love, but I drink a shit ton of sparkling water.
Yeah, that's my
especially
go-to.
Topo Chico, man. That's my jam.
That's what's helped. I mean, I've lost 170 pounds now. And
That's awesome.
I would
Drink
say
a lot of water.
sparkling water. Water is the biggest thing.
For me, like, it didn't get me off soda so much, but it got me off beer because I'm such a drinkaholic. I'm not such a, like I always have to have a drink. I'm always thirsty and stuff like that, and it's like
And it gives you that kind of,
the carbonation, a little bit of the freeness, and the strawberry ones though.
Yeah.
That's legit. I love the strawberry.
and you get
one.
the bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Topo is the closest thing that I got that gives me the same fulfillment of a cold beer. It's the closest thing. And even these Waterloos, they're not the same.
Throw a
There's
lemon
more
in that
bubbles
bad
in
boy.
the taste.
It doesn't
There's a
hit
lot-
the same,
I'll
you
tell you
know?
right now, you take you put a Mentos gum, like the blue, the winter, they're really like spicier ones, and then a nice cold Topo Chico and all those bubbles. You'll feel like your mouth
You'll
is
wake up.
exploding with It's one of my favorite things.
Awesome. So how does somebody, so just to transition back to the academies, how does somebody get a hold of you guys, or how do they sign up, or what's the best way for them to reach out?
Online, we have a bunch of lead generators there. They just put in their information. Or give us a call anytime, 210-526-1175, or just come to any of the academies. You know, you don't need an appointment. Just walk on
It's
in.
not as scary as people think. It's
No.
like it's a very welcoming. I can attest to.
Dude, and like you said, like, I've been to so many different, they're all nice people. I haven't been to an academy that's a competitor or anywhere else that's ever been like Fight Club, you know? Like, you don't feel like that at all. No, yeah. If it is, we don't talk about it.
And
But-
Ohana, I don't know if you know this, but Ohana means family.
Yeah.
And you know what family means?
Ohana?
Nobody gets left behind. You don't watch Lilo and Stitch? Come on
That's
now.
where that's from. Yeah, I was waiting for it, dude.
Yeah, you didn't. Ken, I thought you were going to pick that up.
I don't remember lines from movies except for Godfather 2. I like those movies. I like that. That's the only one I quote. And
Just
it's,
the Godfather
and
2?
and it's only one thing. It's when Fredo goes, "I'm not dumb. I'm smart. I can do things." Not that
Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left
Hakuna Matata.
behind.
Let's go.
That's right, man.
Well, Jay,
Awesome.
I appreciate you coming on again, man. That was
my pleasure.
It was so much fun and learning about everything you're doing and talking and just shooting the shit and everything.
Yes, sir.
It's been too long.
Yeah,
Been a
way to
pleasure.
take a passion and turn it into a business that's growing like
And
crazy.
helping people.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And like
That's awesome.
and has a purpose. You know,
We're trying.
it's like a real purpose.
Yeah,
Doing our best.
awesome. Do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one.